So today I'm going to start working on my mega base. I knew from the very beginning that I wanted my mega base in the center of this mountain, and I want a massive circle for that. So the first thing I want to do is line that out. Now I have to put in the circle. This was the halfway point, so I quickly knocked out the rest, and this is what it looks like. The diameter of this bad boy is 125 blocks, so I got a lot of work cut out for me. Even though I have the circle lined out, I knew I couldn't start work just yet. I needed a bunch of tools if I was going to mine this area out. So I took to the end and started end raiding. I knew it was a quick and fun way to not only get tools and armor, but also collect elytra, as well as collect the shulker boxes that I thought I would need in order to complete this task. I spent an hour or two raiding the end, and when I returned back to my base, I sorted everything out, and then I prepared to go back in order to build an Enderman Farm. I almost lost my world. That's cool. Shouldn't do that again. Oh, I didn't rename the name tag. And just like that, I have an XP farm. This farm is going to be incredibly important for the next phase because I will need quite a bit of XP to get all the tools that I need, but I will also need a place to come back and repair those tools when I need them to be repaired. Next on my list was getting all the tools. I don't know about you, but I really hate having to go back and forth repairing 1 to 2 tools every 10, 15, 20 minutes. So I figured the best thing I could do was get a shulker box of diamond pickaxes and a shulker box of diamond shovels. I would of course have to enchant these with the enchantments that I would want, but having these in place with mending and efficiency 5 and unbreaking 3 at the bare minimum would be a lifesaver down the road. Will I ever turn these into full netherite items? I have no clue, but for now, this is all I need. That did mean, however, that I would have to do an absurd amount of trading with my villagers. Not only do I have to level them up, but I also need to make sure that I have enough emeralds for the items that I'm wanting. Good thing I've had an iron farm going for quite some time, but I did look around to see if I had any extra iron and any diamonds lying around in case I needed to make some items on my own. With all the villagers maxed out, the next step was getting all the pickaxes and shovels that I would need for the next step in this megabase build. I ran through my base pretty quickly looking for any diamond pickaxes or diamond shovels that I had laying around in random chests. I put them in shulker boxes. I wanted to make sure that I had 1 full shulker box of pickaxes and 1 full shulker box of diamond shovels. I would worry about enchanting them later. This is the focus for now. With that done, the next step was enchanting all these items. I didn't have a ton of books lying around, and I didn't want to breed a ton of cows, so I figured the next best step would be going to the stronghold and searching out the libraries there and taking all the books from there. At the very least, I could possibly find some of the enchanted books that I already need, and at the very worst, I wouldn't, but I would have all the books that I would need to enchant the rest of the items. I don't know if I'm crazy, but I feel like this library spawned inside of a dungeon. Is this normal to have cobblestone above the library, or am I crazy? I cleared out the entire library, and I was pretty sure that I had more than enough books to enchant all the tools that I wanted to enchant. Now I had to return back to my base and do a ton of trading with villagers to get enough emeralds to get the enchantments that I needed for all the tools. That took a whole lot longer than I care to admit, but now was the long and tedious process of getting all the XP needed to enchant all the tools. But I knew it was going to be worth it so that I could complete what I had envisioned for my megabase. I am so glad that is done. I may never, ever do that again. So the next step was getting some sand. I have all the tools that I need to dig out the hole, but I don't have an outline on the ground. I just have it in the air. I'm going to use sand, drop it onto the ground so I know exactly where I need to dig. This is taking quite a bit of time. It's done, I think. I mean, that doesn't it doesn't look like a circle. Wait, what? What? Huh? What just happened? I'm still baffled by that moment. I have no idea how I lost my totem, but it set up a great opportunity for me to take a break from the mega build and go do something different within the game. So I grabbed some stuff, got myself a map, and took off towards another mansion. So I noticed this little hidden room with a bunch of obsidian. I had never seen it. I thought it was cool, and it was free obsidian basically. So I went in there and found a diamond block in the center. I don't know if there's always diamond blocks in the center, or if it's, maybe emerald sometimes, or gold, maybe even iron, but this was cool. After I collected the remaining obsidian, I set up a beacon to make sure that I would have the best chances of not dying here, even though I was fairly confident to begin with. And got busy raiding this mansion. Oh, I'm back home. Once I got back home, it was time to start what would eventually become the longest section of this entire build. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I mean, for crying out loud, I initially thought that I was going to dig this entire circle out by hand. Just thinking back on it, I realized how naive and ignorant and honestly just dumb I was being. But I can say that at the end of the day, it was entirely worth it. The first thing I wanted to do was shave down the wall with the highest mountains, and then I also wanted to start removing the snow. Initially, I thought I would do both, shave down some of the stone and remove snow at the same time, but eventually I realized I just needed to get rid of the snow because there was a healthy mix of regular snow and powdered snow. Water does in fact freeze. I have one more small section to finish here, but the circle's basically done. That took a very long time. Next, it was time to start removing the stone. Oh my gosh, there's a party going on around here. I hear them all over. Oh. Well, there they are. Some light down here. Oh my. Why are there so many? This is a ridiculous amount of zombies, and they all have eggs. What is happening? There's another. Oh my gosh. And more. Goodness gracious. There are still more. What is this? That was crazy. I still hear another. After taking on the end of the world, I went back to mining stone for a little bit longer. Then I decided it was finally time to make some TNT Dupers. After doing a little bit of research and watching a guide, I realized it was pretty simple to set up some TNT Dupers, and they didn't require a whole lot, but there was a couple of items that I really needed that I did not have. One of those being a slime block, and the second being some dead coral. So I made this absurd slime farm just to get a few blocks of slime. Yeah, I don't even remember how to use it, and I probably won't ever use it again. I'll make a normal slime farm in the future, but I wanted to try it out. It's pretty cool, but my poor computer, I thought it was gonna explode. Now that I have all the slime blocks that I will ever need, I want to go ahead and put all the stuff together for the TNT Dupers. I still need to go get some coral, but I'll do that after I have everything else. I'm gonna have to put the TNT Duper somewhere just above this platform. I didn't really think about the fact that there is a certain amount of time before TNT explodes, so I can't put the TNT Dupers too high. Also, I've never used TNT Dupers, so I have no clue the radius or how much space should be in between each TNT Duper. I'm gonna start on the right side of the hole, mainly because on the left side is where my villager trading hall is located, and I'm not entirely sure if I want to blow that up or not. So for the time being, I'm going to work on the right side of this massive hole. I built this backwards. 1 second. That's better. Okay, so it's time to turn this on for the first time. And what the heck? Well, yeah, it's a big jump. Anyways. Moments like this is why you play Minecraft. This is one of the most peaceful, most beautiful things I've ever seen in Minecraft. I think part of it's because I've put in an absurd amount of hours into this, but I mean, from the snowflakes to the snow covering the ground, the walls being so high. Golly. Dude, I love this game. It's incredible. This is such a large space as well. I'm not even close to being done, but like I just had to take a moment and just take this all in. With the first section done, I figured I'd be a bit more efficient this time around, or at the very least try to be more efficient and put up as many TNT Dupers as I can prior to starting the area. Using TNT Dupers was quite a learning curve. I wasn't putting them at the correct height, I was putting them too close, they were blowing each other up, but eventually I got it. And fortunately, once you do it once, it's relatively easy to replicate. What I found is I didn't want to change the spacing all too much. What I needed to do was let one TNT Duper take a lap or two before I started a second, and eventually I got to the point where I was able to run 3 or 4 at one time. Running more than that though seemed like a challenge because it made my computer really slow and I didn't want to crash or anything. So I would eventually make my way to bedrock. Throughout this entire project, I would fly around and try to mine up blocks that were floating that didn't get blown up. I didn't realize how long it was going to take, but I slowly worked on it as I lowered the TNT Dupers and eventually hit bedrock. But I would have to fix the walls because they were absolutely destroyed. I also had to fill in the floor because there were a bunch of gaps between the bedrock and like the lower bedrock. I didn't think about it initially, but I eventually realized that mobs do not spawn in the deep dark, and so I didn't have to fill in the actual spaces below the first level of bedrock. I learned it eventually, but man did it save me a bunch of time later on. With the floor finally done, it was time to start focusing on the walls. Between flying up and down, falling and breaking my legs and having to heal and eat food, this part just sucked. After finishing the walls, it was time to start working on the floor. But before I could do that, I needed to go up to the top of the circle and finish the main platform. I wanted to make sure that I finished the kind of main beginning idea of the mega build. That meant I had to do some terraforming, as well as placing quite a few blocks of stone to get a weird, coolish design point thing at the top of the circle. Turned out alright, I'm happy with it. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with it just yet, but I at least have some kind of outline. With the outline done and a little bit of terraforming left to do, it was time to start thinking about the base floor. As it currently stands, I know that I want to use stained glass and create the fog effect, but I've been thinking about what type of light source I want to use, and I think the easiest is going to be sea lanterns. I live next to an ocean, I'm sure there are plenty of ocean monuments around, and on top of that, the farms are relatively easy to create, and if I take the time to connect one to the nether, I can have tons and tons of items dropped, collected, not necessarily sorted unless I wanted them to, But I could have all the drops that I need in order to get all the sea lanterns that are going to be needed to fill in the first half of this massive base. With the Guardian Farm in mind, it was time to get all the necessary materials so I could build the farm. I would also need a few different potions to help with this process, as well as actually locate an ocean monument. I'm not entirely sure why, but at some point during the making of the actual farm, the files corrupted. So yeah, here's a collection area. It's pretty simple. Guardians teleport in, they land on campfires, they get cooked and die. With the Guardian Farm working and sea lanterns no longer being a problem, it was time to do the dirty work and place all the lights. So I totally forgot that I turned on the game music while I was placing these lights because this was a mind-numbing, monotonous task that took forever to do. But the floor looks freaking sick. That being said, we're not done quite yet. We have a ton of sand to gather because now it's time to install the glass floor. But before I can do that, I gotta get a ton of carpet from a ton of different colored sheep, which means I need to gather some sheep, dye them, and get to breeding. With the lights and carpets down, the next step was putting in all the glass. But first, I had to gather a ridiculous amount of sand. And the glass is finally in place. That is somewhere around 50,000 pieces of glass. It took so long to put those in place. I was not prepared. I didn't even think about the 9 layers of glass that I would be installing, but I'm so happy with the way it turned out. I think it looks beautiful. With the glass in place, it was finally time to finish the wall. I wanted a gradient using the colors that I used for the carpet as well as the glass. So purple, magenta, and pink are what I had in mind. The whole point of this was to eventually have a place to put my future super storage unit. I did not realize what I was getting myself into when I set out to accomplish this, and unfortunately, the storage system is not complete. That will have to happen in a future episode. But that's okay. For now, let's finish the wall. After hundreds of hours and hundreds of thousands of blocks, as well as maybe a few questions about my mental stability, I've finally completed the first section of my megabase. From my dream storage system and beyond, my dream megabase is coming to fruition.